we go. The victim was offering up his prayers. It was the night of the rite, though it's dark, on the pattern of the plaza ground was visible. And someone was there, and the theme to the plumed punisher filled the air. The accused held the defenseless victim down and plunged her knife into his neck. The blade struck true, and in that instant, they departed from this world. That is everything the deceased experienced in his final moments.
Her benevolence's insights have painted a detailed picture, both vivid and true. I didn't notice any holes there. As they stand now, those insights are really stacked against us. I'll just have to go over each and every one of the deceased sensations very carefully.
It's the theme. Gingill for one. Gingill is the smell of the supper, right?
Okay, the positioning does make sense. I was...
So he currently smells the supper from last night, though, right? Wouldn't that displace the day?
Look at his hand position for a moment.
Yeah, they're
Keep that in
almost
mind.
in front of his eyes.
Keep that in mind.
No way. That's also against what I thought was happening. What would be heavy then? Is heavy not something falling on him, but him preventing it from falling?
Maybe?
Okay. So we have that. Yeah, the plaza ground there has an issue, so we have a crime scene issue. And we also have the defenseless victim being held down. So we have three things wrong here. It's just which do we start with in this sensation, right?
I think maybe the heavy. Like, what's so heavy? But the question is, like, where...
I think we argue
Maybe
the
this.
plaza ground first. Because that pattern does not match the mat.
So probably here? It's like, the plaza ground was visible. It's like, what's so heavy? Like, unless there's... Victims offering his prayers. Like, that heavy doesn't really contradict anything. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm. And he's not as heavy to lift himself up. I think it's the Gingill on the night of the rite. When it's the day of the death, and she says that the smell of Gingill was from the supper.
Yeah, ginger... What? Yeah, why is he smelling ginger?
He's smelling Gingill because he had dinner, but the dinner was 2 days before. Why isn't the smell wiped off, right? The rite takes place a day and a half after the Gingill.
What if we're wrong about his time of death, and he died first, and he died before any of this even happened? Because he left the day before.
Yeah. I think it's
So
the night of the
it might
right
be
Ginger,
this one then.
with Ginger.
Objection!
Was it really the night of the right?
What do you mean? It could not be otherwise. The accused slew Acolyte Zelot after killing the High Priest during the purification rite.
The problem is the deceased spirit does not corroborate that.
What's this?
Take a good look at what the victim smelled. Do you see how it says ginger? Acolyte Zedon shouldn't have smelled any ginger on the night of the rite.
What do you mean?
Let me back up my statement with some evidence for you. This should explain how the victim couldn't have smelled ginger on the night of the rite. Would it be
Something with Ginger.
No, it was Belieb's statement that mentioned the feast. Because this is where the feast gets mentioned, and Ginger
Noon of
specifically
the
mentioned
day,
here.
it must be finished by 3 p.m. that day, yeah.
Take that!
The High Priest's wife, Belieb in me, told me about the Feast of Blessings. The feast includes a number of ginger-based dishes. And they're only supposed to be served at a certain time of the day before the rite.
Why, I believe you're right. I had completely forgotten about that.
During the feast, a unique smell of ginger pervades the entire kingdom. The fact that the victim smells it means he was murdered between noon and 3 p.m., the day before the purification rite.
That's enough.
Huh. I am not so easily fooled. Did that autopsy report not make it clear?
It wasn't provable though.
The estimated time of death was during the rite.
Right. I taught her about that yesterday.
Temperature, though.
Forgive me your benevolence. The estimated time of death is just that, an estimate. Depending on the circumstances, it's possible for it to change.
What's this?
Hey Emma, can you verify this for us? Like, if a body was kept cold, the slowed rate of decay makes the death more recent.
He was in the water the entire time and it bled red.
That's why it was red. That's why the water was red.
Yeah, that had to be it. Why, I believe I've heard something of the sort before.
It would explain why the blood was wiped, and it would explain why there was no blood at where his body was found.
If it is as Mr. Wright claims, the estimated time of death in the autopsy report will have to be revised. Barbed head, you blinded me with science.
Good. Hey, Poke Girl. So what to say? Time of death, May 8th, between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m., based on the divination seance. Sorry? Wait, what am I apologizing for?
Oh. No matter. The murder may have occurred in the afternoon hours of the day before the rite. Nevertheless, the murder weapon with the accused prints on it is incontrovertible evidence. I will now amend my insight to account for this new truth. And we're going to do that with the, it was dark. Wait, did that last one change too?
No.
The time of death has been corrected, leaving my insight infallible. Nick.
Changing the time of death is bound to cause some sort of inconsistency. Notice something that showed what it was like on a day. Could really help.
Gee, I wonder if it was clear skies. I just got it.
Which one do you think it is?
No, it's entirely unrelated. Our man isn't a very strong man, right? We'll just start with that. Do you think he could realistically lift the big stone slab where it was? So what do you think he fell into?
He fell into the pool, didn't he?
Which way was the statue in the pool facing?
It's behind
Do
him,
you think
was
he?
it? No,
Do you think?
'cause
Do you
it-
think he fell back into the fountain?
no.
You don't think so? Remember, we've had stupid shit happen before.
Yeah, 'cause it didn't specify. It didn't specify there was multiple stab wounds.
Yeah. Just something to think about, because I think the seance vision is him trying to lift it up, and it's heavy, it's heavy, it's heavy, and in pain, he falls back. I feel like there would have been more
But, like,
marks if she
Ma
stabbed him in
Maya
the neck.
didn't say the statue was bloody when they got there. She only said the pool was bloody.
True, but that also happened the day before Maya even got there. The water was already red, so to say. It has to do with the lighter darkness, right? Because we have literally something that
Well, it got darker.
yeah.
Well, he got closer and it got darker.
Yeah, that's him being crushed by the thing. So it was dark. I think it would be sight.
Yeah, so it was dark.
Light, 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 dark. Actually, why is it so dark in the first frame?
Well, this is just it starting. Some of these are very confusing.
I think it's the time of day thing.
Objection!
Yep.
The change in date and time of the crime has caused a new inconsistency to surface. Wait, was the mat not put out yet on the day before that he was praying on?
I don't think we've had anything talking about the mat. The mat was always there with him, not.
Well, it was always there when we visited because we'd gotten there after it all started, or after everyone started praying. But like, if this was like the day before, that could change things. Has caused a new inconsistency to surface.
What's this? Ah, you're making me that irritating face again. Cease that at once.
Sorry, but this is a face I was born with. Now let's focus on what's important. What the victim saw in his final moments.
Do you have bats in the belfry barbed head? There's nothing to see. The ground of the plaza was all that entered the victim's eyes.
And that's what I find so strange. On the day before the rite, it should have been impossible to see that pattern on the ground.
Impossible, you say? Do explain.
This film shows why the plaza's ground was not visible that day.
You might be right about that, actually.
Was it the weather report? Because we're talking about May 9th here, right?
Yeah, it's clear skies.
Well, no, this was the day of the right.
Yeah. It has to be something with the mast.
What do we have about that?
Thick white
Oh,
ice
there
that
it
froze
is.
the
Yeah,
ground.
there it is.
Take that!
This newspaper has an article that is tiny in size, but huge in importance. It says the ground was covered in thick white ice the day before the right.
What? But... Victim did not see so much as an ice cube on the ground.
Exactly. And so we must ask, what was the victim looking at in his final moments?
If you have something to say, then say it.
The last thing the victim saw was not the ground at the Plaza of Devotion. That can only mean that he was killed elsewhere.
What?
What?
What? What? And what do you propose the victim was actually killed? Yes, tell us where. Otherwise, your argument is worthless.
About that. I haven't gotten to that part yet. Any ideas, Maya?
Let me think. Well, it's somewhere green and shaggy, right?
Right, but where could that be?
What is it, Barbed Head giving up already?
Not at all. Now, where have I seen something green and shaggy? This shows where the victim was killed. It's gonna be this.
Take that!
Yeah.
The secret hideout the rebels were using.
The secret of the rebel hideout. There was no such place anywhere on that floor of that chamber.
If he was even on the floor.
Well, the floor.
You're absolutely right. There's no place on the floor anyway.
And what did the victim see in his final moments if not the floor of the rebel hideout?
This is what the victim saw in his final moments.
Take that!
The shaggy green surface the victim saw was the moss-covered stone slabs. As you can see, there are two distinct hand-shaped impressions in the moss here. I believe the victim was killed while he stood there with his hands pressed against the slab.
Objection!
That doesn't agree with the seance vision. However, one cannot definitively declare they are one and the same.
I concur. There's no proof that a murder occurred in that rebel hideout.
Actually, there is.
Indeed, what evidence do you have of this?
I've already shown you the evidence.
What do you mean?
Please take a look at the second version of the photo I just showed you. You can see the results of the luminol test I performed in the rebel hideout. This is proof positive that someone had been bleeding in the front of the stone slab.
Is this true?
This information has already been provided to the police.
Detective Sky, to whom does this blood belong? No, the High Priest blood that floated from the outside. So we haven't tested it yet. Then you must do so at once. Yes, Your Majesty. appears the police have finished testing the blood. Detective Sky, your report, please. The blood found in the rebel hideout belongs to Praise a Lot, just like the defense claims.
Detective Sky, do you realize what your blunder has done to me?
That one actually is on her, because why didn't she test out her fingerprints?
When this trial concludes, I want to see you in my prayer chamber. There I will deliver a joyous sermon unto you for 8 hours straight. Oh, poor Emma.
I'm really sorry, but please, anything but that. Nick, maybe, just maybe, this is the chance we've been waiting for.
Yep, it seems so. Hate to do this to Emma, but...
Go for it, it's full speed ahead.
The victim was killed in a rebel hideout the day before the purification rite. Then his body was moved to the Plaza of Devotion by someone we've yet to identify. So when we saw Acolyte Zealot praying during the rite, he was already dead.
Ah!
And that's not all. If he was killed at the inner sanctum, that would explain one more thing.
And that would be the sound.
How the time of death was made to look later than it actually was. The proof of which was left behind at the sanctum. Points out how the time of death was made to appear later than it actually was. Oh! Oh! It was put in the snow.
Lovely.
It was put in the snow. That makes so much sense.
Take that!
Why, these are photos of the inner sanctum.
I'd like you to focus on this one. The proof is right here in this photo. This is how the time of death was made to appear later than it really was. Do you see how the snow has been removed from this one spot only? That's because it was used to keep the victim's body cold. And that's why the time of death wasn't what it seemed.
The time is mistaken, and the place too, and just what do you believe that proves? A lot, man.
That my client is innocent.
What if her fingerprints on the downer and the plume punisher theme in the victim heard? You have failed to address these two key pieces of evidence.
I see your point. Maya's fingerprints on the blade makes sense, because she was doing the right. That part's so easy to clear.
Wasn't this your big chance, Nick?
We're hoping that difference in location can invalidate either the weapon or the theme song from being used as evidence against you.
Actually, that might be possible, at least for one of them.
Really? Yeah, the clock in that room.
That's it? Yep. The plume punisher clock that goes at the hour, so... You limited it down to 3 instances, actually. You say you can contradict our enemy for a key piece of evidence?
Enemy?
Argument, sorry. Bleh.
You can contradict our enemy.
Contradict the enemy. Very well, let's see you try. Nick, take a good look at the rebel hideout photo.
Oh! The defense can invalidate this piece of evidence.
Plume Punisher theme. The Plume Punisher theme, and how do you intend to support such a claim?
Since the murder happened in a rebel hideout, there's something there that played the theme song, other than my client's strap.
It wasn't the strap, is this true?
Yeah.
Take
The
that!
clock!
This is a Plume Punisher alarm clock. I believe the victim heard its alarm go off.
What proof do you have the alarm went off?
Objection!
What proof do you have that it was my client's strap that played the theme song? Got her!
Do not twist the facts with your lawyerly wiles. Either way, the accused would still be guilty based off her prints on the murder weapon. And that's what really happened. Gee, I wonder what's heavy. Though there have been some twists and turns, that is the truth of what happened.
I think I already know what the contradiction is going to be. Ugh. Won't get anywhere until I can eliminate the dagger.
Most impressive, your benevolence. I see no inconsistencies anywhere in the prosecution's case.
No. There is one.
What's this? You still claim there to be an inconsistency? Huh. Try as you might, the outcome will always be the same.
Girl, we've already proved your insights wrong many times. It's this one.
Yep.
What's so heavy about him? What's so heavy about this? If he just has his hands on the slab, why is he feeling heavy?
You know, like, Pokegirl Sinnoh, like, warned us about how, like, violent some of these murders would be in this game, and I'm still not seeing it.
Objection!
The victim was originally thought to have been stabbed while bent over in prayer, but is actually standing with his hands against the stone slab. So the question is, where did the sensation of something heavy come from?
Yes, I see your point.
Since the victim was standing, he couldn't have been helped down.
Eep! And tell us, Mr. Wright, what was that heavy sensation felt by the victim? Huh.
What caused the heavy sensation Zilla felt? Any thoughts, Maya? The slab tipped
I
over.
agree. The sense of heaviness seems important, but there's also the matter of Zalot's hands on the stone slab. Why were they even there?
Could be related to the cause of the heavy sensation?
Well, Mr. Wright, do you have an answer for us?
Of course. But I just envisioned the state Zalot was when he was killed. The cause of the heaviness the victim felt was the falling stone slab. The only conceivable cause is the stone slab falling over, trapping the victim underneath. So maybe he did fall back onto it, and because like I know they were saying like it's the same weapon, but like they didn't specify multiple stab wounds because like he would have had to get his body taken off of the statue.
Yeah.
But then the knife would have been had put back in. That would have caused another injury. We'll see how they play this.
It depends on the photo. Can you look at the photo real quick? Because my only problem with like my original theory is the way the thing was turned, right? The way the statue is facing. Not that one. The photo of the inner sanctum. Other one. The one behind it.
Oh, the
inner sanctum. So if he fell back there, that does look like enough distance for him to fall there. But the problem is those two bloodstains that are dropping there is kind of what throws me off. We would have detected blood in the little thing if he was moved that way. Where's the dragging prints? I guess is my question.
So what?
The drag prints, like what? You know the marks. How does that be explained?
If it rotated,
him being moved. He gets moved into the snow, so that could be him being moved into the snow beforehand. Blood's going red. His head falls in the river. Okay. I'm not drawing anything definite yet. The stone slab came falling down and I'm crushing him underneath.
Right. Oh, his cause of death wasn't... What if his cause of death wasn't a stab wound? It was blunt force trauma from getting pinned beneath.
For the spinal cord, though, something had to pierce him.
Yeah, but that's what they just assumed what his cause of death was. I don't know if they actually checked deeper. Because his death could have been blunt force trauma, and then he got stabbed in the neck after, and they just said that.
That seems weird. Because he has the spinal cord injury. He had to run into something. If you get squished, not too hard to your spinal cord.
We'll see. Right. That was the cause of the heavy sensation the victim felt.
Objection.
While your theory is impressive, you have overlooked the key fact. The victim was not crushed to death. Rather, he was stabbed. Oh, yeah. Or do you claim that the dagger was plunged in after the slab had fallen on him? Plus, had the killer been behind the victim, they would have both been crushed together. What if the killer was on the other side of the slabs and it's why it fell over? Just push it onto him.
I think they both. I think
Shut up, Poker Girl.
Both of them jumped into the statue with the spike in it, didn't they? But no, that's no second one. Ooh, what the hell? Well, would you care to explain?
Sure, I'd love to. It doesn't mean I can. How could a dagger be plunged in after the slab fell on the victim? The killer couldn't have plunged the dagger into the victim after the slab fell on him. But what if the murder weapon wasn't what we thought it was?
Finally.
Well, there were other weapons in the rebel hideout.
None with blood.
But the entrance to the hideout is right by the stone slab. There isn't enough space between the two to use any weapons found within. Yeah, there's not much space by the entrance there, is it? So it was a real murder weapon. Better think of something.
If the murder weapon wasn't a dagger, then the dagger must have been plunged into the victim after he was already dead. This means he was stabbed at least twice, but the autopsy doesn't mention that. There's our problem. Then
he must have been stabbed in the same spot with something shaped like the dagger. But there's no way it would be identical wounds. Like, that's just not right. But it's going to be the statue here. 100%.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of bullcrap that they're like, oh, he didn't have multiple stab wounds. Oh, now we're making you supposed to think there's multiple stab wounds. Would the defense care to offer an explanation sometime this century? Wait, wasn't there something dagger-like at near the crime scene? Something that had a shape similar to the Warbat dagger.
Present your evidence at this time, Mr. Wright.
This shows what really killed the victim. And I think we're going to go with the statue.
Has to be.
Take that!
The inner sanctum's diagram. You believe the murder weapon is somewhere in the sanctum.
This is what really took Praise-a-Lot's life.
Take that!
But that's the Warbat statue.
Exactly. The Warbat statue has dagger-like feathers protruding from it. That is what really took the victim's life. But also, if the stone slab was so heavy, like, I feel like there would have been a much worse wound than just what happened.
Yeah.
Because, like, he's getting his body pressed by a heavy stone slab onto a spiky statue. There would have been far worse injury than what he had. Unless there's more injuries we just don't see.
Objection.
You imbecilic fool. The statue is outside of the hideout. How do you propose it impaled someone who is inside?
How the fuck did you get in?
Haven't you heard? The Warbad statue also functions as the hideout's door. What do you mean? The statue can pull a complete switcheroo. A switcheroo? To put it simply, it's a revolving door.
A revolving door. Why, that makes perfect sense.
Therefore, I believe the truth behind the divination seance to be this. The victim entered the secret hideout, and the stone sculpture came toppling toward him. He threw his hands to stop it, but its weight forced him backwards. Unfortunately, the Warbat statue was right there behind him.
This cannot be.
That's enough.
But the accused's fingerprints were found on the dagger.
She held it while rehearsing for the rite, which is when her prints got on it. Thank you for finally mentioning that, Phoenix. Could have mentioned that way sooner, but like her fingerprint would have been on it from her practicing to write. Dummies.
This is a shocking turn of events, but there's a great deal of circumstantial evidence in the defense's favor. I believe we must accept that the Warbad statue was what killed the victim.
Okay, we got the statue added as evidence now. Can we look at it? Is there anything further we can do with it? No. Now that we know how Acolyte Zealot really met his demise, there's no basis for claiming my client committed this crime.
Nice work, Nick. How can this be happening yet again? The divination seance is the only truth.
No, your benevolence. It's not the truth itself, but it is a means for shedding light on the truth. You understand now. Your kingdom needs lawyers so that they can interpret your insights.
But that means I have been misinterpreting the voices of the spirits all this time?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Your benevolence! Are you unwell? All the color has drained from your face.
She now realizes that there's a chance many people got falsely accused and sentenced to death because of her.
Yep, I'll be fine. Continue your proceedings without me. As you wish.
Poor girl. Feel kind of bad for her.
Now then, I would have the defense continue. Please explain what you have learned now that we know the victim actually died.
Acolyte Zealot was killed in a hideout before the High Priest's murder. That means the body was found at the Plaza of Devotion, removed there by the real killer. But only after the Rorbad dagger was thrust into it, to make it look like the murder weapon.
That does seem to agree with what we now know. But why would the real killer go to such lengths?
Dude, this stupid fly, get out of here. I believe the stabbing Acolyte Zealot's body with the dagger and moving to the plaza was to make it look like a serial murder.
Really?
Because, like, Doesn't make sense for it to be worn. Is crime committed for fun? Why? I think it has to be this one because
Has to be.
to make it look like
The other
zero
options
murder.
are totally out there.
Because the other one was like built to make it look like Maya for sure. It was an attempt to make my client look like a serial killer. That's right. The real killer planned all of this. This forged serial murder case.
They did. That's it, Nick. Keep hammering away.
Takura!
サトラ今おまどもさましで足し抜けたれガセをそろか
Your reasoning has more holes in it than the cheese you foreigners so enjoy. What? Like those putrid, hole-riddled clumps of curds that only a rat like you could love. Your reasoning, much like your putrid, hole-ridden brain, has petrified. What's this deal with things going putrid? You have yet to overturn my argument that the accused is the killer. A careful analysis of the chain of events up to the killing exposes the truth as follows. Disguised as Lady Kira, the accused found the rebel hideout the day before the riot. But Akalezela had followed her there after noticing her suspicious behavior. Caught by a surprise, she pushed the stone slab toward him, and we know the rest.
I've never been to the rebel hideout in my life.
When the high priest arrived at the sanctum the next day, he realized what she had done. That is when the accused murdered him in order to silence him. That doesn't make any bit of sense given the divination seance. That makes absolutely zero sense, sir.
I believe Prosecutor Sadmatty has posed a compelling scenario. The defense, on the other hand, has yet to disprove this accused's guilt.
Objection!
Why would my client move Acolyte Zealot's body to where everyone could see it? And why would she stab the dagger with her fingerprints into his dead body? She had no reason to do any of those things. The dagger in his corpse is likely a warning to the rebels. Something along the lines of Lady Kira will slay the defiant dragons.
So that is why she moved the body to the plaza for all to see.
Now he has a judge convinced, too. I thought I'd finally made some headway.
Well, Mr. Wright, about time for one of your groans of distress.
Groan of distress? Kills me to admit this, but I've got nothing to counter his argument with. I still haven't disproven the allegations against Maya.
Is it not time to end your futile struggle? You're already judged guilty yesterday. That makes you a dead lawyer walking. Accept the death that now awaits you, and doing so, finally no peace.
A dead lawyer walking, indeed. Then again, are not all lawyers who practice in Kurine. But I must admit, I misspoke earlier. Allow me to amend my statement. I said the defense reasoning had a putrid cheese-like smell. But I now realize the stench was from his own putrid body on the verge of death. Now I'm a rotting zombie? Think, who could have killed the Zalot before the day before the riot? Who knew about the rebel hideout and could gain access to the inner sanctum?
Only those involved with the right can enter the sanctum, so...
Only those involved in the right can enter the sanctum,
Yep.
Wait a second. Only a rebel would have known about the secret hideout. The only person who was involved with the riot had access to the sanctum and was suspected of being a rebel is. Oh.
Did somebody come to mind? You think he killed him?
We don't know his movements after the food.
We don't.
We know Maya's movements. We know his movements. We don't know his. Because think about what Phoenix just said. Only Rebel would know about the secret hideout. Thrust has been shown that. Only person involved was the right had access to the sanctum. Thrust was involved in the sanctum. And he was suspected of being a rebel. Checks all 3 boxes. Cause we have no suspicion on Believe to be a rebel. Yet.
I don't think she's a rebel. I think
she's Lady Kira for sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Except there's one huge problem.
A huge problem?
What are you two going on about? Plotting your escape from the sacred hull? I would not put it past you, considering you have no means to raise further objection. If I don't do something, Prosecutor Sadmati will have this one in a bag. I'll just have to bluff my way out of this, regardless of that huge problem. Your Majesty, I believe there is another suspect in Perez-Lot's murder.
Objection!
Even the most benevolent Holy Mother would not forgive such a desperate lie. After all, you know very well that such a person does not exist. No, there is one person who knew everything.
Does such a figure truly exist? Tell us, who might that be?
I believe the prime suspect in Acolyte Zealot's murder is... I think it's Thrust.
Take that!
It had to be someone allowed to enter the sanctum and who knew of the hideout. And that would be the High Priest. He could have committed the crime if it occurred the day before the rite. You would pin a crime upon the dead, knowing very well that they tell no tales.
They don't have to tell a tale.
Have you no shame? Dead men tell no tales. That's definitely a problem. If only the High Priest could tell his side of the story.
If only she could channel. What, do I have something on my face?
Are we about to do a channeling? Wait a second. Could this actually work?
Oh no, don't tell me I have some of my breakfast coffee on my teeth.
No, if there's even the slightest possibility, I have to go with it. Your Majesty, dead men do tell tales. Therefore, I would like to request the High Priest's testimony.
His testimony? And just how do you propose we get the deceased to testify?
There's a way for the dead to testify. It's known as channeling.
Channeling.
Oh dear me. Summon him here by means of spirit channeling.
What did you just say? Peace. I am frankly astonished you even know of such a thing. But spirit channeling is a secret art that only Her Eminence Queen Guran can perform. And Her Eminence is far too busy with other duties to perform it at our pleasure.
I suspected as much. That means our only hope is... Hey Maya,
It's okay, Nick. You can tell him.
But Maya... I thought you wanted to keep it a secret here in Karine.
No, don't worry. It's not like it's against the law to violate some religious precept, so I don't think we'll be punished. At least, I hope not.
This is a crucial period for you. It'll decide whether you become a master of crime.
We don't have any other choice now, do we? If I'm found guilty, it'll be worse than not becoming a master of crime.
All right. Thanks, Maya. Actually, there is someone here who's capable of channeling spirits. But even her benevolence, Professor Rafa finds the divination seance to be a challenge. Who could possibly have greater spiritual power than she, aside from the queen?
That would be me.
Peace, peace, I say. Is this true? Is the accused capable of performing the secret art of spirit channeling?
Well, yes. Yes, I can.
Now, Your Majesty, we'd like your permission to begin. Uh-oh, Rafa's not gonna take this. Your benevolence.
This is an outrage. An outrage, I say. First, you make a mockery of the divination seance. And now, spirit channeling? Still your voices. Barbed head. Spirit channeling is the most sacred and secret of arts. Are you prepared to face the consequences of what you propose?
Yes, I am.
Benevolence, are you saying you approve of their use of spirit channeling?
I will judge whether their claim is true. If this is but another of their lies, they shall be executed on the spot.
Very well, then. Your benevolence. What if the accused accidentally calls forth an evil spirit?
Do you truly believe this foreigner is capable of channeling spirits?
Oh, no, but I wanted to be sure, as I am responsible for the safety of all present.
Well, an inexperienced practitioner could inadvertently call forth a dangerous spirit. But do not fear, for I have the Magatama of Parting.
Ooh, a red Magatama.
She could force us out. With it, I can send spirits back to the Twilight Realm by halting the flow of spiritual power.
That is a relief indeed.
These foreigners have thrown down the gauntlet. Let us not shirk from their challenge. We must prove them guilty and deliver their last rites. Do I make myself clear, Prosecutor Sednati?
Perfectly, Your Benevolence.
Very well, the accused may channel the High Priest spirit. But first, we must take a short recess to prepare. We will resume as soon as the preparations are complete. Until then, the court is adjourned.